Hello, Prairie View Christian Church. It is Ben Halliburton. It is Friday night, May 29th, and we are here at the building gearing up for our service this coming Sunday, May 31st. We're very excited to be back with you, and we wanted to give you some idea of what this Sunday is going to look like. Maybe you've already committed to coming and you're excited to see what it's going to look like. Maybe you haven't committed to coming and you're a little bit unsure. Maybe this can provide some clarity for you and ease some of your concerns and some of your fears. Again, this is all new for all of us. We're going to do our best. There might be bumps in the road, there might be growing pains, but we're looking forward to being together. But we did want to give you this brief preview of what to expect on Sunday morning, May 31st. So here I am. I'm out in the parking lot. We're going to pretend it's Sunday morning. I just drove to church. I just got out of my car. What should I do next? Well, the first thing I should do is put on my mask. We understand that this is a bit of a hot button topic in our current crisis. Some people like the masks, some people don't. Many people are unsure about their effectiveness, but we are requiring them here. We figure that if they even provide the slightest bit of protection for myself or for others, they are worth having. So we are requiring masks for everyone in the building over the age of 2. If you do not have a mask of your own already, we will have masks here that you can use. So know in advance that if you come to church on Sunday morning, May 31st, and presumably for Sunday mornings for the foreseeable future, you are going to be required to wear a mask. Quite frankly, this is not the time or the place to come and make a political statement or pick a fight or make your voice heard about masks. If you're going to be here, we do require masks. If they're not comfortable with that, then we encourage you to live stream at home. We'll talk about that more here in just a minute. So with that, I am going to put on my mask that Kim Kors made for me. Thank you very much, Kim Kors. And now I'm going to make my way into the building. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, isn't it? It's strange that the sun is setting on Sunday morning, but these are unprecedented times. And what do you know? Here is a handsome and charming elder. And this handsome and charming elder is going to direct me into the building.
Right this way, Pastor Halliburton.
Thank you, sir.
Right in there.
So I'm going to make my way into the building. Again, I already have my mask, so I do not need someone to give me a mask, though someone would be here to give me one if I needed them to. And here's what I see. If you take a look around, the lobby looks a little bit bare compared to what you might be. We have taken some furniture out of the room to not tempt you to do the things you're not supposed to do, which includes hanging around and lingering and not social distancing, that kind of stuff. So the lobby is a little bit bare. Another thing you'll see is another handsome and charming elder standing there with some cleaning supplies. We are going to have 2 people throughout our service walking around the building and doing regular cleaning. They'll be cleaning touch points, they'll be cleaning doorknobs, flushers on toilets, faucet handles, all the stuff that we touch all the time. So we'll be making an effort to keep the building clean as much as we reasonably can during the service. So I'm now continuing to walk to my seat, and look, here is another charming and handsome elder who is going to help me get to my spot. So, direct me, sir. I really would have liked it if you took my arm, but...
No, can't touch it.
Joe does bring up a good point. We are socially distancing, which means that even when Joe is walking me to my seat, we are staying 6 feet apart from each other. So, Joe has led me to my seats, and would you look at that? It's even labeled. My name is on the seat, so I know exactly where I need to sit, exactly where I need to be. Now, one thing that is going to be a little bit odd during the service is that based on where I'm sitting, if I look over to my right, I see this very strange setup, and I see an elder sitting there. We are referring to that as the Walker Live Stream Battle Station. This is so that we can live stream our services.
Am I neither charming nor handsome?
Both charming and handsome. We have cameras set up, and yes, they will take some getting used to, but those cameras are going to record our service as it happens. This first week that we live stream, as we get a better feel for the technical ins and outs, we are going to live stream our service on Facebook Live. So it will be on Facebook. Nancy will send a link out to the Facebook live stream. If you have trouble getting to the live stream through Facebook, so for example, if you don't have a Facebook account, then we will take that live stream video and we will post it to YouTube after the fact. Now, because it's a very large video, it might take a little bit of time to actually post to YouTube. So you might have to wait until 11 or 12 or 1 before you get to access that video. But you will have the joy and the privilege and the opportunity to watch an actual service at Prairie View for the first time in 11 weeks. So the live streaming will be coming along. Again, I'm sure there will be glitches to troubleshoot, but we will get better as we go. Now, I'm going to make my way over into the Kids Kingdom hallway. You have probably heard by now that we are not offering staffed Kids Kingdom classrooms. There will be no teachers in these rooms, there will be no volunteers, but these rooms can be used. And what we're thinking is that these rooms can be used by a family in the sanctuary with kids whose kids might be getting a little bit rowdy, might be getting a little bit uncomfortable, might need somewhere to go that's a little bit more wide open. These rooms are available for those people. Now again, they are pretty bare. You might not see the same amount of toys and activities in the room that you normally would, but a family can go to one of these rooms if they need to. If one of their kids just needs to get out of the sanctuary, they can go to that room. The same goes for these rooms down the hall. That is our nursery. That is Toddler Town. Those rooms can also be used by families if needed. Now, with that being said, we are going to limit those rooms to one household per room. We do not want to spread any sort of illness through kids sharing all the same toys or kids giving hugs and kisses and all the things that kids do. So we are going to limit the use of those classrooms to one family at a time. If one family goes in, sits in the classroom for 20 minutes, and then leaves, our cleaning people will come in, clean the touch points, and then another family could use it. But we do want to stress that only one family will be in those rooms at a time. But hopefully you won't need that. Zach has been working very hard to put together really good kids activities that we're going to have in the sanctuary at your chair when you get there with your name on it. If you RSVP in advance and we know your kids are coming, we will have activities there for them in the room. We will even have little tables for those RSVP kids. So please RSVP. That's very important as we set up the room, very important as we serve your family. Zach's been working very hard on that. And as we said earlier, I think in Nancy's email, those activities are not meant to distract our kids, not meant just to keep them quiet, but we're hoping that those activity kits will keep them actually engaged in the service so that this will not be something they dread. This won't be something they just have to sit through. It will be something that actually benefits them the same way it benefits the adults. Now I'm going to go back into the sanctuary and talk for just a moment about how our service is actually going to go. And while I'm in there, I may flip the camera around and let you get a look at the room. As you can see, this looks very different. Our chairs are spaced apart. All the chairs for those who have RSVP'd are labeled. If you did not RSVP, we still ask that you do so. But if someone were to come to church on Sunday morning and having not RSVP'd, if they're a guest and they didn't know that we were requesting RSVPs, we will have empty chairs available for those people, so you will still have a place to sit. Now let's talk about our actual service. The first thing we will be doing in our order of service, which will be very, very different than what we've been used to, and I'll explain why here in just a moment, we will have a welcome and announcements, like we always have before. From there, we'll then go into a Kids Kingdom lesson. Since we are not having Kids Kingdom classrooms, like we said a moment ago, we still want our kids to have something in the service that can benefit them. So in addition to the activities that will be waiting for them at their chairs, Zach will also give a short lesson for the kids, because again, they're part of this service as well, and could be for quite some time. After we do our Kids Kingdom lesson, we will then do communion and offering. Now that will be different. We want to reduce the amount of touching different shared surfaces. That includes passing the bags for the offering. That includes passing the plates for communion, juice and bread. So instead of sitting in our chairs and passing the plates like we've done in the past, we are going to do communion stations. We have one set up on this side of the room, and we have one set up way on the other side of the room on the opposite side of Joe. Now, we've done those before for events like Christmas Eve or maybe for a few Sundays after Christmas Eve, so it's not totally unfamiliar, but it will be a little bit different. We're going to space our bread and juice out so that you can grab one stack of cups without touching anybody else's cup. You can then take your bread, take your juice to your seat, and take that when you are ready. But before you go back to your seat, you should also notice that we have these very nifty, very fancy lock boxes. That is a box for our offering. Again, same thing as communion. We don't want to pass a plate or a bag and touch all the same surfaces if we don't have to. Now I'm going to flip the camera around for just a moment. You see 3 of our leaders all staring at their phones. Hopefully that won't happen on Sunday morning during the sermon. Now, speaking of the sermon, our sermon will take place on the stage after communion and offering. It will be a little bit shorter than usual, which many of you are praising God already for COVID-19 because of that. We're going to shorten our sermon slightly just because we're trying to reduce the overall time of our service. We understand that having a large group of people in one indoor space for an extended period of time could pose some risk. And so we figured that if even reducing the service by 10 or 15 minutes, if that helps reduce risk, then we're willing to do that. So our sermon will be slightly shorter. Our overall length of service will be slightly shorter as well. So at this point, we've done our welcome and announcements. We've done our Kids Kingdom lesson. We've done communion. We've done offering. We've done the sermon. If you've been to church in the past, if you've been to Prairie View in the past, there's one major element that is still missing, and that is music. Now, one of the things that we're going to do is that every single person in the room, in the building, including the people on stage, are going to be wearing masks. That means I'm going to be wearing a mask while I preach. That would also mean that Mark and Bowden would have had to wear a mask while he sings. Mark did not feel comfortable doing that, and understandably so. It's, I imagine, very difficult singing with a mask on. I'm not as good or as experienced of a singer as Mark is, and so I'm certainly not one to question his judgment on that. But Mark, thankfully, agreed to do a worship video, like he has been doing the past 11 Sundays. He and Amy have gotten very, very good at making very good worship videos for our church. So every single Sunday we're going to have a fresh worship video that we will play on the screen that anybody sitting at home and live streaming will be able to see the same video, and Mark will be leading us in worship on the screen. So that will be different. Another thing that will be different is that we'll be, look at that, there's a preview. There's Mark and Amy in the comfort of their living room leading us in worship. Another thing that will be different, speaking of shorter sermons, we will have a little bit less music. We're going to have 3 songs total, and they will be at the very end of the service. Now again, that order might seem really strange, that we're doing all those things on the front end, welcome and announcements, Kids Kingdom, communion and offering, the sermon, and then doing the music all at the very end. That might seem a little bit awkward. That might seem a little bit strange. But there's a reason that we're doing that. As we mentioned a moment ago, there is some risk to having a large group of people in an indoor room together. But on top of that, there's additional risk to singing. When you sing, you put more germs out into the air. When you sing, you take deeper breaths, and that means that you suck more air and more germs into your lungs. And as we've learned about the coronavirus, it is a respiratory illness, and so you breathe it in, you suck it in. So, if we're going to sing, which we are, we figure that we should have it at the tail end of the service. The reason for that is that if we have all the music at the end, we're not then sitting in the room where we just sang for an additional 20 or 30 or 40 minutes, breathing in that air that everyone just sang into. So that will be different. It might be a little bit awkward having all the music at the end of the service, but we thought that was a reasonable precaution that we could take. Obviously, we can't imagine a worship service without singing, but we can imagine a worship service with music at the end for the safety of those who might be in the room. So at that point, once we've done our singing, all that's left is our closing prayer. It will be a quick closing prayer because, again, we don't want people sitting in the room for too long after all that singing that we've done. And when that closing prayer is over, we're going to ask that you leave. We understand that we all want to stay and hug and shake hands and shoot the breeze and catch up after 11 weeks apart from each other. But as much as we would like to do that, we can't do that right now. So when the service is over, when the closing prayer has been prayed, we would then ask that you leave. We would ask that you go through the lobby, straight to your car, and then go home. So, in closing, we recognize this will be a little bit different. We recognize that it might be uncomfortable. We recognize that it might not be the wonderful, joyful, exciting reunion that we all hoped for when everything would be back to normal and we could all share a meal after the service and shake hands and hug and commiserate about the experience we've been through for the past 3 months. But we do feel like this is a good step in the right direction of getting back together as a church on Sunday morning. The past 11 weeks, the videos have been very good and have been very helpful, and we're grateful for those videos. But we're looking forward to getting back together in person, even if it's not the same as it would have been before. So, with that, I hope this has been a pretty good introduction to you for how this Sunday morning, May 31st, is going to go. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to me, to the elders. We would be happy to talk to you about what to expect on Sunday morning, the 31st, answer whatever questions you may have had, and maybe even ease some of your concerns. If you have any further questions about the precautions that we're taking, those are available on our website. If you go to pvcchurch.org and click on the Resources tab, there is then a Policies page. At the very top of that Policies page is our COVID-19 announcement, and we have an update from May 11th that explains the precautions that we're taking. So, if you have questions about those precautions, if you have questions about what we're doing on Sunday morning, if you have questions about whether or not you should come, because we do have some recommendations about those who should come and those who shouldn't. That includes people 65 and older, that includes people with underlying health issues, things like that. If you have questions about any of that stuff, please feel free to reach out to us. And like we said at the beginning of the video, it's very important that you RSVP. So if you have not RSVP'd yet, we would greatly appreciate it. That would help us be better prepared for the amount of people in the room. That way we can keep people appropriately distanced and hopefully appropriately safe. And then last but not least, of course, we ask that you pray. We understand that even with all the precautions that we're taking, we can bend over backwards with masks and cleaning and socially distancing and doing this, that, and the other. There is still some inherited risk with having service again this coming Sunday. But at the end of the day, we're going to do everything we can to keep us safe, and honor God through in-person worship. So we're very excited about this. We're looking forward to it. We're a little bit nervous as well, if we're being totally honest. And it might be overwhelming even at times. But it'll be good to be back together on Sunday morning, May 31st. So we look forward to seeing you there. Let us know if you have any questions, and have a great rest of your weekend.